Daily problem is 2348 and it's number of subarrays filled with 0. ठीक है अब what is subarrays filled with 0? Suppose this is some subarray and you know what is subarray is as a contiguous part of array is called subarray. Suppose this is one subarray and at every index what you see, there's an element called 0. So this is a subarray which is filled with 0, so it is a valid subarray and we have to count such subarrays. And you can also include the single element. I mean, if we only consider some element, single element, it's also a subarray, right? So we have to count them, and for this we have two approaches. One is sliding window and the other one is simple basic math could be, right? So I would say sliding window is the easiest one for this, even though maths is also good. How is sliding window going to help us? So first, understanding what is a sliding window. So what we are taking is, we are taking a window. How is window, ठीक है, वो कैसी दिखती है? Window is something like this, and we're starting off from here and we're going to increase the window. We're going to increase the size of window, and once we see some elements which is non-zero, we're going to shrink it and shrink it to the base, like उसको पूरा shrink कर देना है. So what is the approach? Let me just start off with the first element. I see there is some 0 and what I'm taking is a count variable. Let me just go to a pen instead of an highlighter. I would say first both pointers are at here. I would say there is 0, and if there is 0, what I'm saying this is my variable, and I would say r minus l plus 1. I would tell you the intuition behind that, but simply अभी हम क्या करते हैं, इस वाले formula से we'll simply count how many subarrays will be having. ठीक है, हमने क्या किया, we're increasing right pointer now here it's again the element is 0, and since the element is 0, first of all हमने हमारा count क्या हो जाता, 0 minus 0 plus 1, तो हमारा count initially was 1, and now I am at index 1, so 1 minus 0 plus 1 is going to be 2. ठीक है, now why we are adding 2? We have already considered this subarray. Now we are considering this subarray as well as this subarray, so we are adding 2. We are adding the length. This point should be clear, I guess. And then we are increasing the size of our subarray, and again we are adding the length. It says I'm 3, so the possible number of subarrays here is 6. And how? Let me just quickly demonstrate that too. 1 2 3 4 5 6. Fine. Now I'll again shrink the window to check if there are more zeros. It could be possible, yes, there could be more zeros. So I just increase the size of my window, but I come up with 2. Can I include that part in my subarray? It should be 0 at every index. Now I am getting 2. Now I am shrinking the window. And how I'm going to shrink the window? This is my window currently. If I shrink, it would become this. This is also not valid. I'll shrink it again, it will become this. So what I think is कि कितना ही shrink कर लो, जब तक ये element आपकी window में exist करता है, there is no point to shrinking the window. What are we going to do? Instead of shrinking like L plus plus and checking every window, what we say कि अगर कोई non-zero element हमें मिल जाता है, if we discover any non-zero element, what we are going to do? We're checking from the next index. Since 2 cannot be a part of subarray, our valid subarray, and ऐसे we can count how many subarrays are there. So this is a simple sliding window problem. मतलब sliding window approach is there, and there is another approach which is counting approach. ठीक है, we discussed that. Now before starting the another approach, there is some basic thing that we should all know. If subarray of size n is given, the total possible subarrays from that particular array is going to be n into n plus 1. This is some formula for calculating all possible subarrays, number of all possible subarrays, right? Now how is this formula useful for us? If we're given 3 zeros right here, and we know there are 3 zeros on the left, we have 3 zeros here, so what we can say, we can have 3 into 4 by 2, that is going to be 6 subarrays here. Now what we were doing in sliding window, for every index we were just counting total possible subarrays, right? Now what we are doing is, whenever we are finding some non-zero element, I would say what What's the count of 0 on the left? I say 3. So there could be 3 into 4 by 2 is equal to, that is 6 subarrays on the left. And I would just simply add those numbers. Whenever I find that there's some non-zero element, I would say count of 0, can you please become 0? Now let me quickly try run this possible solution. So I'm at here and I'm iterating throughout the array. I'm not taking 2 pointers, just 1 pointer is enough and another variable count. So I'm at 0. Are you 0? It says yes, I'm 0. Count becomes 1. Now I'm at first index. I ask, are you 0? It says 0. Yes. Now I'm at here. Count says 3. Now the moment I reach here, it says I'm non-zero element. And what I say, there was some 3 zeros onto the left. Continuous 3, right? There would always be continuous 3 on the left, and 3 into 4 by 2. I'll apply straight away this formula and count the number of subarrays. There could be another situation, and the situation could be, let's take it 1 here. And now let's quickly try run this. So the count initially is 0 and I'm iterating start from here. It says count 1, and the moment I find there's some non-zero element, I would say, hey, can you please check and count the number of possible subarrays on the left hand side? It says yes, 1 into 2 by 2, and there is just 1, and we know there's just 1, right? Then we are at 1. So what we are doing at that moment of time, we're saying, hey, count, can you please become 0 again, since you're standing at non-zero element, and the count becomes 0 again. And we're iterating from the next element now. It says 0, the count become 1. Then again we'll add some non-zero element. It says how many contiguous 0 were on your left. It says it was 1. Then again we're counting for the number of possible subarrays with the same formula, and it is 1 again. I'm like, ठीक है. And this is how we're going to count 0. Sliding window में क्या हो रहा था? Sliding window में we're calculating for every index. After having 0 at any index, we're calculating कि यहाँ possible subarrays कितनी हो सकती हैं. But in this approach, whenever we are getting some non-zero element, then only we're finding कि there was some continuous 3 on the left and how many possible subarrays could be there. Using the simple formula, we can find this. So there could be 2 approaches for the same problem, and it is marked medium. If you have enough practice on sliding window, it would be very easier problem. But coming to the maths, intuition is a little bit on the other side. So, and the solution is going to be in the comments. Yes. Bye bye.